Welcome to the Deeper Thinking podcast. In a world where governance is increasingly shaped by the logic of markets and the ambitions of technocrats, today's episode explores how power, technology, and ideology converge to redefine public institutions. What happens when legal norms become mere suggestions, when corporate efficiency overrides humanitarian needs, and when the machinery of state is repurposed to serve economic imperatives? This episode examines these unsettling questions through the lens of critical philosophy, examining the quiet erosion of democratic safeguards and the human cost of relentless efficiency. To explore more about the concepts and thinkers discussed, including the state of exception, capitalist realism, and existentialist ethics, please go to the description where you'll find a link to the episode webpage, which includes additional reading, resources, and recommendations. The fluorescent hum of an empty office flickers as the last of USAID staff log out, their access revoked in a digital purge orchestrated not by an unseen bureaucracy, but by the world's most visible technocrat. Elon Musk, synonymous with innovation and disruption, now stands at the intersection of technology and state power, steering Project 2025's mission to dismantle the federal apparatus. This moment, where legal norms are suspended under the guise of efficiency, evokes a modern state of exception, power unbound by law. Humanitarian aid shipments stall, financial protections vanish, and entire systems collapse, not due to inefficiency, but as casualties of a radical vision to streamline governance with corporate precision. Flickers of Black Mirror hover in the periphery, a world where technological ambition governs without oversight, where public welfare is secondary to optimization. Project 2025, conceived by the Heritage Foundation, promises a leaner government at an incalculable human cost. Russell Vaught's drive to strip federal agencies of permanence places them in a state of existential precarity, a grim reflection of capitalist realism where market logic saturates every crevice of public life. Musk, relentless in his pursuit of efficiency, accelerates this reality, turning governance into a transactional space where aid is withheld, labor commodified, and oversight expendable. In this landscape, even the most dystopian fictions pale beside the reality of a world where human welfare is collateral in the pursuit of economic purity. Yet amidst the sterile efficiency, an ethical question lingers: what is owed to the other? Beauvoir's insistence that responsibility defines freedom resonates through the protests, legal challenges, and quiet acts of defiance that persist even as systems falter. It is within this tension that the unfolding story of power, governance, and resistance takes shape. The dismantling of USAID is more than a bureaucratic shift. It reveals how political power, fused with corporate ambition, can dismantle lifelines with clinical precision. USAID's decades-long presence as a pillar of US foreign policy, delivering aid to vulnerable populations worldwide, was undone in weeks. This rapid deconstruction reflects a state of exception where legal norms are suspended and power operates unchecked, rendering institutions fragile and dispensable. Reports of DOJ personnel, many with ties to Musk's ventures, bypassing established protocols to access USAID's classified systems, evoke a world not unlike the algorithmic overlords of Westworld, where those who control technology shape reality itself. The disregard for judicial orders during the process is not mere defiance, but an unsettling recalibration of governance itself. Efficiency, elevated to an unquestionable virtue, echoes Fisher's capitalist realism, the inescapable logic that subordinates every human endeavor to market forces. The stranded medical supplies, from HIV medications to oxygen tanks, are not collateral damage, but the inevitable byproducts of a system that prioritizes cost-cutting over compassion. This convergence of capital and governance does not merely disrupt, it redefines what is deemed necessary and what becomes expendable. Yet, amidst this mechanized calculus, de Beauvoir's existentialist ethic surfaces in the quiet resistance of dismissed USAID employees who refused unlawful orders, unions that fought legal battles, and advocates who raised alarms. These acts of defiance assert a fundamental truth. Even in the most constraining systems, responsibility toward others remains a moral imperative. Each refusal to capitulate becomes not just an act of rebellion, but a profound assertion of humanity in a system that increasingly treats people as mere data points in an efficiency matrix. The dismantling of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau mirrors the ideological thrust of Project 2025, where regulatory oversight is seen not as a safeguard, but as an obstacle to market efficiency. What was once a shield against financial exploitation is now a void, leaving consumers exposed in an economic landscape governed by profit imperatives. The swift closure of the CFPB building and termination of its operations align with the logic of capitalist realism, where the free market is sacrosanct and any intervention is vilified as bureaucratic overreach. Musk's simultaneous venture into financial technology through X, conveniently unburdened by regulatory scrutiny, underscores the unsettling fusion of corporate ambition and public policy. This dissolution of boundaries between governance and enterprise evokes Agamben's state of exception, where legal structures are suspended to accommodate unfettered power. The removal of regulatory guardrails does not merely signify deregulation, it reflects a broader ideological project where governance itself is commodified. Musk's growing influence within federal systems blurs the line between public service and private profit, transforming democratic accountability into an afterthought. Yet, within this stark reality, de Beauvoir's existential ethics lingers. The legal battles waged by displaced CFPB employees, the outcry from consumer advocacy groups, and the silent resilience of those affected are reminders that human dignity resists commodification. Their defiance, though overshadowed by systemic forces, reaffirms the moral responsibility inherent in freedom. In a landscape increasingly shaped by technological and economic determinism, these moments of resistance are quiet yet profound assertions of agency, challenging a system that seeks to render them invisible. The societal reverberations of Project 2025 extend beyond institutional dismantling, seeping into the fabric of everyday life. Policies that curtail reproductive rights, marginalize LGBTQ+ identities, and erode racial equality signal an ideological shift where governance becomes an instrument of cultural hegemony. This landscape reflects Fisher's capitalist realism, where even social and cultural spheres are shaped by economic logic, rendering dissent increasingly difficult. Musk's role, emblematic of postmodern fluidity, further dissolves the boundaries between innovation and authority, enterprise and state. His influence within these power structures exemplifies Agamben's state of exception, where the suspension of legal and ethical norms is not an anomaly but a governing principle. Yet, in this world of suspended norms and commodified governance, de Beauvoir's existential ethics finds resonance in acts of defiance that refuse to be subsumed by systemic forces. Protests against policy rollbacks, legal confrontations by displaced workers, and the voices of marginalized communities serve as testaments to the enduring struggle for dignity. These acts, often quiet and unseen, echo the existentialist call to responsibility, asserting that freedom is not merely the absence of constraint, but the recognition of one's obligation to others. In a reality where governance increasingly mirrors market efficiencies and human welfare is often an afterthought, these moments of resistance offer a profound reminder. Even in the most impersonal systems, the human spirit, driven by responsibility and empathy, persists. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Deeper Thinking podcast, an audio essay read by me, Holly, your digital narrator. For further reading, resources and recommendations, visit the episode webpage linked in the description. Until next time.